Which job is a lot less fun than most people expect? I do closed captioning. While I joke that yes, I get paid to watch TV, it's actually very tedious. And if you don't actually enjoy the programming, you're being forced to watch something you don't care for. Or worse, if it's something I do enjoy like a long-form drama, we usually chop those up into 15-minute increments and split between everyone, so I only see chunks and not always even in order. It actually ruins the show for me. Acting. All the ones we see on TV and movies are the 0.0001% of incredibly lucky and talented people who manage to thrive in a hostile and overcrowded industry. And even when you are working, the actual job itself is 99% sitting on apple crate in hot makeup waiting for some grips to move a lighting fixture. Then you say 3 lines over and over again for an hour, and then you rap. That was my experience as an extra. I waited all day for something to do and was given a role as a doorman but neglected to tell me anything else. Luckily I thought to open the door and it made it on screen, but that was it. I always say the more fun it is to go somewhere, the worse it is to work there, like amusement parks and arcades. Honestly, every job that lots and lots of people really want to do sucks, mostly due to supply and demand. You're gonna be treated like crap, and if you complain you're gonna be fired because you're inherently replaceable, because there's thousands of people that would love to do your job for even less money than you are making. Working in an animal shelter. For sure, it's probably less intense than zookeeping, but the amount of people who apply or volunteer expecting to come in and play with cute puppies all day is absurd. We're basically animal maids. You deal with animals of all sorts of behavioral and developmental stages, crapping and pissing everywhere, and then you look over and this troublesome dog named Chumbawamba swimming in his water bowl, so you gotta fill that up 6 times and dry his kennel out, and then you go and mop up the cat room around 10 kittens who want to eat your mop, and also 4 children who are all yelling that there's puke in the floor and I must clean it. Now, not to mention all the extra behind-the-scenes work that the public never sees. How in the summer, during kitten and puppy season, the shelter built to house 500 max has 750, and I didn't take a lunch or sit at all for any of my shifts for the past 6 days. How the courts force us to put down animals that we know can be rehabilitated, but we don't get enough funding to fight it. How animal control just showed up with the 4th pregnant stray of the week, but intake is full and even double stacked in some cases, so your co-worker fosters the cats on her own. Not even to mention the troublesome people who do dumb stuff and end up getting bit or scratched, and the animal is the one who bears those consequences. I am the proudest shelter worker in the world. I adore my job, even at its hardest. I didn't sit for 9.5 hours today and I found a cat turd in the cuff of my jeans, but it doesn't matter because a bonded pair of adult cats got adopted today. I took 6 applications this morning and the cat in bank 4 with the goopy eye is already looking better, and we sent a mama out to foster. The hard work is always worth it for these babies. Being a writer. I always thought it was my absolute dream job. But the only job I could get after college was working in a content mill as a blog writer. I used to work 70-hour weeks staring at the computer in a basement of an old bank writing bullshit articles about the dangers of mold, fence cleaning, and why you need a commercial awning, and the dream turned into a nightmare. While I still write occasionally, I am now working as a communications person, so it is a bit less heavy. Similarly, fiction writer isn't as amazing as movies and TV shows would have you believe. Most of the work is spent doubting yourself, feeling like your book isn't going anywhere and that you'll never be able to finish it, and even when you do, that nobody is going to like it, and if they do, that you'll never live up to the expectations with the next one. Oh, and line editing is one of the most boring, mind-numbing things I've done in my entire life. Especially when it comes to cleaning up repetitions. It literally never ends. You basically just have to let go of it when you hit your deadline and hope you did good enough that readers won't ask themselves how such a terrible writer can be published. Don't think I'd want to do anything else for the rest of my life though. Being an extra in a movie. Now, it can be super fun. I especially love historical and post-apocalyptic /sci-fi/fantasy type stuff, but a typical day on set wasn't what I thought it'd be when I started doing it. Often we have to get up at 3 or 4 in the morning to get to holding, and if you're a minute late to check in sometimes they'll kick you out. Then we sit around in holding with sometimes hundreds of other extras, and we're usually sitting there for a good 3 or 4 hours before they start telling us to get ready to film. During this time we go through long wardrobe, hair, and makeup lines where they reuse clothes, unless you bring them yourself, brushes and makeup without washing them. When we finally get to film, it's often the same mundane motions over and over, exceptions of course, and those are always fun. Then we either get shuffled around or go back to holding. Several more hours pass, we go film again. Hungry. You get lunch 6 hours after your call time, and a usually meager supply of snacks. In between takes it's more standing around, often in heat or rain, or we all get shuffled into cramped spaces to wait. Days on set are often more than 12 hours, and I know someone who had to be on set for 26 hours straight. They can legally hold you there until they declared filming is done, so don't make plans for the next day. Not to mention that you rarely see yourself in the final cut. I'm not trying to bash other background actors or the film industry because I've met lots of awesome people and gotten to do some pretty cool things. For example, interacting with main actors in scenes, running around in the woods with fake guns or being a zombie. But when I did my first job as a teen, I definitely thought it would be a lot different. Lawyer. No, it isn't like they show on TV. Hey, finally case is before the judge, crap, the other party didn't show up. Next date that judge has given is 3 months away. And that's just litigation. As Tom Hanks once said, it's like doing homework for a living. EDA for the pedantic types, which it shouldn't surprise me, being lawyers and all. It was an interview many years ago and he was asked what career he would hate to have if wasn't an actor. It stuck with me because it rang true. I once heard someone compare a lawyer's job to a school project. You spend most of your time researching and a little time presenting. Is that true? Being a chef. All the flair and awesomeness they show on Vice and Netflix is far from what actually happens in the industry. It's not all fancy plates and tattooed / cool-haired guys doing their thing. It's a drug-infested, law-breaking work environment that only benefits the owners of a restaurant. Edit. Thank you for the love and good reads, people. I have some insane stories I'll share someday. For those asking, I am a sous chef at Michelin-level restaurants nowadays. Not a chef de cuisine yet. I inherited a full-service breakfast, lunch and dinner restaurant/bar that had been in my family for 16 years at the ripe age of 23. I can validate that 85% of my 20-plus staff members had some form of substance dependency. I tried my best to be fair and pay people well, but after a year or so I lost almost all faith in humanity or the service industry at the very least. It's not some fun ride where I get to call the shots and everything works out. Much like you asserted, everyone thinks that I'm just raking in the cash, but the reality is I haven't broken even in months even before the pandemic, and am in a constant state of fear that I will have destroyed the restaurant and myself in the process. That being said, I'm sure there are some owners who have it all figured out and abuse their staff and the system to profit, but a majority of us are just trying our best and hanging on for dear life. Video game testing. I've been working in the game industry for 6 years now, and teaching for 2. Testing video games is thought to be just, oh, you just play games all day? LOL, but it's actually very specific and arduous. First of all, there are a bunch of testing methodologies such as load/soak testing, white room testing, version testing, to name a few, but the most common one is functionality testing. Functionality testing is so if I walk into that corner with the shotgun in my inventory, I can clip through the wall, but if I have my M16 in my inventory, I don't clip through. How do you go about finding out something like your example where if you walk through a wall with a certain item you clip? Is it just insane copious trial and error? It seems like such an insanely tough job, and then since you're only one guy, within a week someone finds some game-breaking glitch fairly early on. It just seems like a tough cycle. After reading through this thread for 20 minutes, I've concluded that every job sucks. I think doing anything for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week would probably get tiresome.